Before the Dreaming. Chapter 11. The Threshold of Fire. The silver threads beneath their feet faded gradually, replaced by a faint warmth that hummed against their skin. The corridor narrowed, walls bending like molten metal, edges flickering as if alive. Ahead, a river of amber and red light pulsed with restless energy, the path calling to them with a rhythm that set their nerves alight. Kale glanced at Mira. "This feels different." She nodded, eyes scanning the shimmering currents. "Dangerous, but necessary. It's the next lesson." The golden thread that had led them here split into tongues of fire, dancing across the floor like living streams. Kale could feel them probing, responding to his presence, testing his focus. Every step required intention. A thoughtless move could ignite a flare that would push them off balance. From the heart of the flames, the lattice whispered again. "Courage shapes reality, but only when tempered by control." A figure emerged from the flickering light, tall, indistinct, its form shifting like smoke and ember. Kyle recognized the stranger. He had appeared once more, now part of the fire itself. "The dreaming tests the will," the stranger intoned, voice echoing as if from multiple sources. "You cannot simply step forward. You must shape the current, or it will consume you." Kale felt the heat lashing at his awareness, pulling fragments of fear from deep within. Shadows of doubt swirled among the flames. Memories of failure, hesitation, voices that whispered, "You are not enough." Mira's hand squeezed his. "We're still together. Remember the silver path. We control the thread by how we move through it." Kale nodded, inhaling sharply. He focused on the flow of the fire, imagining the strands bending around them, not against them. The flames rippled in response, coalescing into pathways instead of walls. Step by careful step, they advanced, weaving their will into the lattice. Sparks leaped like curious eyes, testing, probing, but yielding to their synchronized movement. Each choice, each breath, strengthened the threads. The stranger's form shimmered brighter. "Every decision leaves an echo. Every hesitation leaves a mark. You are both creators and witnesses." Kel's chest tightened. The threads pulsed, and he realized that the fire wasn't merely a trial, it was a mirror, reflecting the courage they had yet to fully claim. Myra's eyes met his, and without a word, they leaned into the flames together, letting their intent guide the flow. Ahead, a doorway of molten light opened, stable and welcoming for the first time. The fire had recognized them, acknowledged their awareness, and parted. The golden threads of the lattice extended forward, leading them deeper, toward the next challenge of the dreaming, and the next revelation about themselves. Before the Dreaming. Chapter 12. The Veil of Shadows. The fire dimmed behind them, collapsing into threads that dissolved into silence. Ahead the air grew heavier, saturated with a faint pulse, that was neither light nor dark, but something in between, a weight pressing gently at the edge of their thoughts. The path narrowed into a corridor woven of shadowed strands, its glow faint veiled, alive with hidden movement. Kel's breath fogged, though the air wasn't cold. Every step felt like walking into memory, into something already waiting. Mira shivered. "It feels closer than the others, like it already knows us." Kale nodded slowly, though unease coiled in his stomach. "Or like we've already been here." The shadows stirred. From the threads around them, forms began to gather. Shapes have formed, faces glimpsed and lost again, voices whispering with too much familiarity. Kale froze as one face drew near, his father's lined with grief, fading before Kale could speak. Mira gasped as another figure leaned out of the dark, her younger self eyes wide with fear, vanishing as quickly as it came. The lattice whispered through the veil, "Truth shapes reality, but will you bear it?" The corridor split open into a chamber woven entirely of shadow light. In the center hung a vast mirror of obsidian, suspended in threads like a heart in a web. Its surface was not still. It writhed with shifting scenes, fractured visions of what they had hidden, denied, or fled from. Kel's knees weakened. He saw himself walking away from chances he might have taken, turning his back on faces he had loved. He heard words he had never spoken aloud, echoing now as though accusing him. Beside him, Mira's breath hitched. Her reflection splintered into three. each a version of herself marked by regret, sacrifice, or desire. One wept, one screamed, one stood still and silent, refusing to move. The stranger's voice rose from the veil, though his form did not appear. The fire taught you courage, the silver taught you acknowledgement, but the shadow asks more. To weave truth, you must choose which part of yourself you will carry forward, and which you will leave behind. Kel's throat tightened. If we leave them behind, do they die? No, the voice replied, low and echoing. But every choice leaves an echo, and the echoes you abandon will one day return to question you. Silence fell. The obsidian mirror pulsed, demanding their decision. Mira reached for his hand, trembling. If we choose wrong, there is no wrong, the lattice whispered. Only consequence. Kale closed his eyes, heart pounding. The chamber of shadows quivered, waiting for them to decide which truths to claim, and which to sacrifice. As the path deeper into the dreaming unfurled before them. Before the dreaming. Chapter 13. The Choice of Shadows. The obsidian mirror swelled, rippling like black water. Kel's reflection fractured again, each shard staring back with unbearable clarity. His father's silence, the weight of every hesitation, the ache of words swallowed and never spoken. Beside him, Mira's reflections trembled, each holding out a hand as if begging her to decide. The weeping child, the furious woman, the still, cold shadow. The lattice throbbed with a voice both near and infinite. What you carry will define you. What you abandon will define you also. Kale swallowed hard, his pulse hammering. It's asking us to cut ourselves apart, Mira whispered, her eyes fixed on the mirror. To choose which truths we accept, and which we leave behind. Kale reached toward the glass, his hand hovering inches above its shifting surface. The reflection that met him was not cruel. Not accusing, it was tired. It was him, burdened by doubts he had tried to ignore. A memory surfaced, a chance he hadn't taken, watching someone walk away because he was too afraid to speak. His chest clenched. He could feel it pressing, the part of himself that had always flinched, always waited. Trembling, he whispered, I can't carry all of me forward. But I won't abandon him either. He pressed his palm flat. The mirror rippled. His reflection smiled faintly, not with joy, but relief, before dissolving into threads of shadow that wove into his chest. A warmth spread through him, sharp and aching, but whole. Mira's turn. She stared at her three selves, lips trembling. The child, she's fear. The fury, she's survival. The still one, her voice broke. She's the part that gave up. The still figure lifted her chin, eyes empty, lips parting. Leave me, it mouthed, voiceless but certain. Mira sobbed, shaking her head. I don't want to abandon her. Kale caught her hand. Then don't. You don't have to destroy her. Just let her go. Mira stepped forward. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she placed her palm on the mirror. The still figure faded, dissolving into threads that drifted back into the veil. Neither forgotten nor carried, only released. The child and the fury merged into her, trembling but alive. The chamber shuddered. The mirror splintered into dust, dissolving into the lattice. The shadows recoiled, retreating into the web until only the golden path remained, brighter than before. Kel's chest ached, but his voice was steady. It's done. Mira wiped her eyes, pale but fierce. Not done, changed. The lattice pulsed once more, a heartbeat of approval. Every echo leaves a mark. Every choice shapes the weave. Walk forward, and carry what is yours. They stepped together into the renewed path, knowing the shadows they had chosen, and those they had left, would follow them in ways yet unseen. Before the dreaming. Chapter 14. The Labyrinth of Shifting Paths. The golden lattice carried them onward, widening into a great arch of woven light. Beyond it, the dreaming reassembled itself into walls of stone that rose and folded like an endless maze. Corridors stretched in every direction, their angles impossible, some slanting upward, others spiraling downward, and still others vanishing into the sky. The air smelled of dust and iron. Each turn of the labyrinth seemed alive, walls breathing faintly as though the stone itself was watching. Cale ran a hand along the wall. It pulsed once beneath his fingers. He pulled back sharply. It knows we're here. Mira tilted her head, eyes narrowing. No, it knows who we are. Look. Symbols etched themselves into the stone as she spoke, glowing faintly. Cale's own jagged sigil of hesitation, Mira's burning spiral of anger. The labyrinth was rewriting itself with their choices. Corridors opening and closing depending on the shadows they still carried. At the first junction, two paths unfolded. One sloped upward, walls gleaming with faint silver light that seemed to beckon Cale. The other plunged downward into heat and smoke, where whispers curled like snakes around Mira's ankles. Cale's throat tightened. It's splitting us. The labyrinth pulsed with a low groan, as though confirming. Mira clenched her fists. That's the challenge. Not whether we can escape, whether we can do it together. The air thickened. Somewhere deeper in the maze, footsteps echoed. Not theirs. A reminder that they weren't alone. Cale forced a breath. His choice had been to carry the part of himself that doubted, that held back. And here, the path of hesitation shimmered, waiting. Mira swallowed. She had released her stillness, but the fury and fear still clung like fire. The downward path pulsed, inviting her to embrace them. Their eyes met at the crossroads. Together, Cale said, his voice strained. Together, Mira echoed, though the labyrinth seemed determined to break the promise. The walls shuddered, closing in. They had seconds to decide. The labyrinth quaked, walls grinding like tectonic plates as light bled from the seams. Dust rained from above, and the ground beneath them fractured into two spiraling ramps, one ascending, one plunging into flame. Cale reached out, but the air thickened between them like glass. The lattice that had once joined them now pulsed with opposing rhythms, each beat pushing them further apart. Mira's hair whipped in the rising wind. It's choosing for us. No, Cale shouted over the roar. It's showing what's inside us. For a moment she hesitated, eyes flicking between the upward gleam of Cale's path and the molten red glow that beckoned her. Then came the whisper again, the voice of the dreaming. Layered and ancient. To walk as one, you must first know what you walk with. The ground split. Cale stumbled upward as the spiral staircase of light surged away beneath his feet. Mira fell backward, caught in a current of heat and shadow. Her hand brushed his for a fraction of a second, warm, trembling, before the labyrinth sealed the gap between them. Silence followed. Then, two separate heartbeats echoed through the stone. Cale found himself climbing through corridors of mirrored glass, every surface alive with flickers of his own hesitation. Each reflection showed him stopping, turning back, doubting. The higher he climbed, the heavier his legs became, not from exhaustion, but from the weight of possibilities unchosen. Every few steps, the mirrors whispered, you could still leave. You could still be free. He pressed forward, jaw tight. Freedom without purpose wasn't freedom, it was exile. Below, Mira waded through crimson mist. The air shimmered with embers, and figures formed from smoke, fragments of rage, grief, betrayal. They surrounded her, whispering her own words back at her. You never forgave. You never stopped burning. Her fists clenched, but no matter how hard she fought, the flames coiled tighter. The labyrinth wasn't punishing her. It was asking her to understand. And in that moment, she saw it. Her anger wasn't a flaw. It was the fire that had kept her alive when everything else had gone dark. The flames softened to gold, parting to reveal a distant glimmer of light, the same golden pulse that echoed faintly in her chest. Both paths pulsed once, as if remembering each other. Somewhere faintly, their voices overlapped across the stone. Hold on, I'm still here. And the labyrinth, sensing the thread between them, began to change again. The ground pulsed beneath Mira's feet, each heartbeat echoing through molten stone. She stood in a cavern of living flame, walls rippling, breathing, whispering her name in the crackle of embers. The air shimmered with heat, but it wasn't pain she felt, it was recognition. Every flame carried a face, not of strangers, but of herself. Versions she had hidden, broken, silenced. The girl who screamed and no one came. The lover who walked away before she could be left. The warrior who wanted to burn the world clean. They surrounded her, living echoes made of fire and memory. "You're not real," she whispered. The flames laughed softly, a sound like weeping turned inside out. "We are what you cast away." Mira took a step forward, the heat licking her skin, daring her to come closer. Her heart pounded, a wild rhythm that matched the pulse of the fire. "If I touch you, will you destroy me?" The flames rippled. "If you don't, you already are." She hesitated. Anger rose in her chest, bright and terrible, but this time she didn't run from it. She let it burn. She felt every injustice, every silenced scream, every time she had swallowed her truth to keep peace for others. The rage was pure, not cruelty, but clarity. "I was never meant to be small," she breathed. "I was never meant to be quiet." The fire flared, the cavern roaring in response. The echoes of herself burned brighter, not consuming her, but illuminating her, showing her strength where she had once seen only ruin. A figure emerged from the heart of the flame, tall, calm eyes, molten gold. It looked like her, yet older, fierce and serene all at once. "You are not here to conquer the fire," the figure said. "You are here to remember that it was always yours." Mira stepped closer. The flames parted, wrapping around her like silk, neither burning nor hurting. Her pulse steadied. The heat became a heartbeat, the light a hum beneath her skin. When she opened her eyes, her body glowed faintly with gold. The cavern had quieted that the fire no longer raged, it danced. And for the first time she realized the truth. Her anger had never been her enemy. It was her compass. Her fire did not destroy. It transformed. Somewhere above, through the lattice of shifting light, she felt Kale's presence again, distant but alive. "Hold on," she whispered, her voice steady now. "I'm coming." The flames rippled once, almost in approval, and the path ahead opened a molten bridge leading upward, toward reunion, and toward whatever truth the dreaming would show them next. Darkness folded around Kale like a tide. No sound, no light, only the slow rhythm of his own breathing, and even that began to sound wrong, like it belonged to someone else. He reached forward, but his hand vanished into nothingness. The air was thick, heavy, not empty but crowded, filled with the weight of everything unsaid. Then, from the dark, a voice emerged. Soft, familiar. His own. "Why do you always run?" Kale froze. The darkness shimmered. A figure stepped out, identical in form, but not in presence. This Kale's eyes were older, sharper, and filled with grief. "You call it courage," the shadow said, "but it's escape. You leap into the unknown not to discover, but to avoid what you already know." Kale's pulse quickened. "I came here to learn." The shadow smiled faintly. "No. You came here to hide your fear in the name of learning." The air tightened. The dark around him shifted, forming shapes, echoes of moments he had fled, a friend's dying breath, a promise broken, the times he'd turned away from love because he feared losing it. Each memory hovered, black mirrors catching fragments of his reflection. "Stop," Kale whispered. The shadow tilted its head. "You cannot weave truth while cutting your own thread." Kale's jaw clenched. "I'm not afraid." "Then prove it," the voice said, and the darkness opened its eyes. An ocean of shadows spread before him, filled with faces, the lives he had touched, the wounds he had caused, the parts of himself he'd cast away. They reached for him, not to drag him down, but to show him. Kale fell to his knees, trembling. The weight of it all pressed through him, regret, guilt, tenderness, love. It was too much, too vast. His instinct was to dissolve, to let the dark swallow him whole. But then he heard Mira's voice, distant, faint, but real, whispering through the lattice together. He exhaled, steady in his breath. "You're not my enemy," he told the shadow. "You're what I couldn't face." The figure's eyes softened. "And now I see you." He reached forward, pressing his palm to the shadow's chest. The darkness shuddered, then poured into him, not as pain, but as clarity. His fear didn't vanish. It transformed, grounding itself in understanding. Light cracked through the void, threads of gold and silver, weaving through black, not purging it, but balancing it. When Kale opened his eyes again, he stood on a path of obsidian glass. His reflection stared back, whole at last. He whispered into the silence. The dark wasn't absence, it was depth. And somewhere far away, a ripple of flame answered.